So we don't often talk about the importance of leadership when running a tradie or a contracting business, but we should. Now, in today's episode, we're going to dig into what it takes to be a great leader in your business. So stay tuned. We're going to get into it. Hey, I'm Tony Fraser-Jones, your host of for today for the Top Profitable Tradie podcast. That was a bit of a mouthful. Kind of got tangled up there. Anyway, I'm here with Phil, who's my sidekick, the CEO here at Profitable Tradie. Phil, cool to hang out today, mate. Looking forward to this. I think this is going to be massively helpful.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I think it's going to be an important one.
What are we getting into?
Mate, today we're talking about leadership and how important it is, and how being a great leader it's actually kind of hard work at times, isn't it?
It is definitely hard work, and it's a different set of skills than than we're used to. You know, when we are tradespeople or technicians, we have some great hands-on skills. We're good at getting stuff done. We're good with working with our hands, and building and constructing things. But this is a different type of building and constructing. It's not a thing. It's building and constructing people and the right culture and a high-performance culture in your business. So a little bit different.
100%. And so a big part of leadership is not falling back into what made you get here. All of those skills that you're talking about that helped you become great at your trade and end up starting your own business. Those are not the skills that it takes to continue being a great leader in your business. And I know we were talking earlier, Tony, about Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers, love that show. Yeah,
if you haven't watched it, hey, it's an absolute thumper. 10-part series. It's just 10 episodes. Follows one company all the way through World War II.
Easy Company.
Europe. Easy Company, yeah.
Paratroopers, the kind of the elite troops who go in beforehand. I've got this on DVD.
That probably shows your age there, Tony. Is
my age? It's on DVD. And it's
what's a DVD, Tony?
What's a DVD? I don't know, mate. It's that sort of round, shiny thing.
We're bringing out a cassette tape, and we'll.
I actually do have cassette tapes. Actually, I'm that old that you used to get. When I first went to, I first left home, I bought the stereo, and you could get a CD, and you could dub it onto tapes, and it was pretty cool because you'd put in the time of your tapes, and then it would know how much time was on the CD, and it would split the songs evenly across the two tapes. I thought that was just amazing.
Mate, I've got to say, I give you hassles about this, but I'm also from the generation I sit there and next to the radio, and you had to just quickly hit record so that you could make your mixtape based on what was playing on the radio, and you'd get a little bit of the previous ad there at the start, either that or you missed the intro of the song, one or the other. So yeah.
Anyway,
we digress. So
it's not like us to digress.
Not at all. So yeah, mate. So we were talking about Band of Brothers earlier, and is that one episode that really hit home for me on this topic, where Winters, I think he was a major at the time. It was just
he started off as second lieutenant, didn't he? He was second lieutenant. First lieutenant got killed when they got dropped. Yeah, and so he became first lieutenant of Easy Company. Sorry, just filling in the backstory.
Built his way up, and so obviously quite a few parallels for Winters. With people as they start any business, really. You start off being one of the guys, and you work your way through, and you get better and better, and you climb up the ranks, and your role and your identity really does change as a leader. And this really got highlighted in this one particular episode where Easy Company is. They've just gone through the Battle of Bastogne, the Battle of the Bulge, and they're up in the forest in the Ardennes and looking down on the town of Foy, and they're about to run over and take it. And they're coordinating this attack. Winters at this point is a major, and everybody runs down. Obviously, Winters is not part of the assault at this point.
That's right. He's actually off the tools now.
That's right.
He doesn't pick up a rifle anymore.
No, he doesn't. But obviously things go a bit pear-shaped as the fellas run down into Foy, and things start really going off the rails. The lieutenant he's just recently put in charge of Easy Company loses the plot and just starts doing everything wrong. And Winters, in a fit of what the hell, sprints over, grabs a rifle off somebody else, and moves to run down into the town. And Colonel Sink actually has to pull him back
physically restrain him from doing that.
That's right, and remind him that's not your job anymore. And you could just see it was everything Winters could do to actually stop himself and try to direct other people to go in and fix the situation. Because when things start going wrong, it's really easy just to revert back to what got you there in the first place and forget your role as the leader. But the hard thing is if Winters ran down there and got shot, now what?
That's right. Basically, the whole thing would fall to bits. And I mean, you probably experienced this in your business. You're trying to organize things and all of a sudden you get sucked back into the jobs or picking up the pieces, and then the organization gets out of control, the scheduling's out of control, the whole thing starts to unravel, because literally it doesn't matter the fact that you're Superman or Superwoman, you can't do everything. And
we see it time and time again. You get an unhappy customer. Every time there's an unhappy customer, you go in and fix it. Now you guys just don't even care about keeping customers happy because you'll fix it. And every time you get really busy, you run in on the tools and chip in, because then we get through the workload. But the hard thing is you do that and no one's out there making sales, generating new work. So you get in, you help the guys get through a busy patch, and then you're dead quiet because no one was doing your job. So I suppose there was a good metaphor for that one is if you imagine a big old ship and you're supposed to be at the helm. Now, if you're out running around up and down the riggings, tying down knots and setting sails, that's all really efficient and it's great, but no one's steering and the ship just goes in circles, right?
That's right. So are you doing well with the stories today, mate? That's 2 you've got in there.
I've got heaps on this one.
That's value for money. But this is a massively important thing because Dick Winters was like an incredible soldier. He was incredibly brave. I think they still teach at West Point a couple of the maneuvers that he did for attacking fixed positions. He was like amazing. But his job now was leadership and making sure the big picture was taken care of. And so I guess the question is how often in our plumbing, electrical, landscaping, or painting, or glazing, or drywall, whatever business you're in, do we kind of forget that we are actually a leader, and our most important role is to be the leader, particularly if you want to grow your business past yourself or even one or two people helping you. Leadership is important. Your role actually switches from doing the work to making sure the work gets done. And that's the role of leadership, and it really becomes about building the team and putting the responsibility on them. Because if you don't do that, they're never going to rise to the occasion as well.
Yeah, that's right, 100% right. So, what are some lessons that we can take away as far as leadership goes? Like, what are some things that our listeners can start to do and think about?
Yeah, well, I actually, we talked about this before, and we kind of disagreed on it, but not really. We're talking about culture. Just when we're practicing, sort of thinking about what we're going to talk about today. So culture is, I think, huge. And culture is the way things are done around here. So I think, and culture is like, you've got a good culture if one of your tradespeople takes an apprentice aside and says, hey, man, your uniform's dirty and you were here late. Like, we don't do that around here. That's a good culture, for example. You've got a good culture if your tradespeople maybe they ring each other up and try and solve a problem without having to call you all the time. That's like a culture of ownership. So I think culture is important. But what are some practical things we can do? Well, I think one thing is what we call core values. So as a business owner, let's come up and you get your team involved in this as well. This is another thing about leadership. Get them involved. Like the old command and control style, just tell people what to do and they're going to be grateful for having a job. That doesn't really work anymore. You've actually got to take people on the journey with you. I hate using that word, the journey. It's like the latest pop psychology crap, but anyway. But you kind of do. Take them with you. So core values, what's actually important to us as a business? What do we stand for? Is it professionalism? Is it speed? Is it honesty and integrity? Is it ownership? Have some core values or core standards that the business stands for. So I think that's super helpful.
The big one we learned about the other day, right, Tony, was we had a great guest speaker in here, mental skills coach for the All Blacks, which is a New Zealand rugby team for a long time. He's been part of the All Blacks organisation for over 20 years. He's their manager now. And he was talking about how values is cool, but, when you start calling them standards, it really sets quite a different tone.
It has more punch. I'm holding my fist up if you can't see me. It's punch.
It's like a line in the sand. It's like, this is something that we absolutely don't budge on. I really like one from Lieutenant David Marquette, who's a submarine commander, and he used to say, don't step over the rust. He's like, I don't give a shit what your job is. You don't step over rust. If you find something that's wrong, it's in our DNA to fix that and get involved.
Yeah, that is part of the job.
Nothing is ever not your problem. So again, that's an example of a standard, like something that we stand for. It's what we do, which again sets the tone for the way people act.
Yeah, huge. Rules of the game. what we're talking about here is leadership is crucial, and you've got to be the leader, and it's your job to grow the team and provide the leadership. But here's some practical ways you can do it. So core values is one. Rules of the game are another. Was you basically write down how you want things to roll. Now, if you just talk about it, it's kind of a wish. And you can tell people things 10 times, they never kind of remember. But you write them down, then it's real. And so that might be things really simple like, what's your... when do you turn up in the morning? We turn up 10 minutes beforehand. Hey, we have a no swearing on site policy out in the field. We, what are the rules around requesting leave? How do we talk to the customers? How do we talk to each other? And we just write that stuff down so everyone's super clear when you bring them on, when you induct them into your business. You go through these rules of the game just so everyone knows how you roll. And the leadership needs to provide a clear framework for how things go. So I think that's important.
Mate, I think if I could just jump in on the rules, I think a lot of the time I do see confusion between values-standards and rules. And I think for me, the easiest way to think about it is values, or if we want to call them standards, that's like how we are. It's what we're about, what we stand for. Rules are more like what we do and don't do. So they're more like specific actions or guide rails. And I'd like to think of values and rules, or if we call them standards and rules, as almost being like two guardrails. And once you know them, they're like boundaries that you can play within. It sets your field of play, which actually allows people to express themselves more freely, take more initiative, really just actually do better because they're not having to worry about where those lines are. You think about like a small bridge out in the country over a stream. If there's no guardrails, you drive over that thing at about 10 miles an hour because you're just feeling weird about it. You put guardrails up and you can go over at 100 miles an hour and it's no problem. And it's the same bridge. And it's kind of the same thing. You put those boundaries in place for your team and they'll actually perform a lot better and take a lot more initiative because they know where they're allowed to be and how they're allowed to act.
And the rules of the game, some people freak out, rules, rules are like, nah, rules are like kind of really rigid and people telling me what to do. But it's not like that. It's like if you're playing a game of sport, you have rules because otherwise the game is absolute chaos. That's right. So if you football without rules would just be insane, right? No one would know what's going on. So that's the kind of how it works. The other thing I think you really need to do is, and this is a lot about communication leadership. Honestly, it's been a great communicator, both listening and not just telling but listening. Performance appraisals are really important. So you should do these at least every 6 months, and that's a chance to sit down and actually have a conversation about your team members about where they're at, what's going well, what's not going so well, what their goals are. Like this is huge part of leadership. Creating some one of your favourite sayings, Phil, and I've stolen it. Brightness of future. I'm going to trademark that. It's good. Brightness of future. What's the next step for them in the business? So you do that by having a dedicated time to actually go through their performance and their role and where they're at with the business. I think that's huge as well. And another thing that we do and we teach our members is a 20-minute coaching session. So that's something that happens regularly. So maybe every month, and maybe for your really senior people might happen every week, is you actually have 20 minutes set aside to talk about performance, KPIs, issues that might be coming up, little trainings you might do with them, and you do that regularly. And if you've got a bigger team, your team will do it with their direct reports as well. Maybe you've got an ops manager, they might do it with the tradespeople. If you have a GM, they might do it with...
This is huge, isn't it, Tony? I mean, I think what we're talking about here is follow-through. Because, if you look at performance appraisals, 20-minute coaching sessions, I'm sure there's people out there right now that are listening and you're thinking, I've got core values or I've got rules of the game. And what I would challenge you to think about is, did you write them, stick them on the wall and never talk about them again? Because if you're not actually talking about these regularly, following through, doing what you say you'll do, coaching the difficult parts and holding people to the standards you set, then you're not following through and you might have written them one time, but you don't have them in place. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve, right?
Well, if you write them once or talk about them once, that's hope. Consistently following them up and talking about them and making them real, that's leadership.
100%.
So that's those 20-minute coaching sessions are incredibly powerful. Now, the first few you do, we have a whole template and a whole process around how to do these, but the first few times you do them are going to be weird as. They're like, hey, man, have you just gone to some hippie commune and you're like got some new age BS going on here? And they'll be like, but if you stick at it, they'll start to appreciate it massively. And you'll find that. See, here's the thing with leadership: you can manage by reaction and dealing with all the issues, the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, or you can be proactive and provide leadership and actually, do things in advance, which will stop all that annoying stuff happening. Well, most of it anyhow. I think that's important. I think the key thing here is, as a leader, you actually really got to. The team has to know that you've got their back. They know that they can trust you. They feel some affection from you. That sounds a bit weird, but they have to know that you really care about them. And the best way to care, show you care, is actually to care.
Yeah.
And I challenge some people, when you're busy and you've got so much going on, it's really easy for people not to think you care because you're just under the pump. And that's when you've really got to step up.
Totally.
Because I find this, people fall into a couple of categories, Phil. They fall into the sort of a task-focused category or a people-focused category. So task-focused people, and most of us as business owners are task-focused. That's why we're in business. That's why we are successful, or we're doing stuff that other people can't do, because we get stuff done. So task focus is really important. But leaders get into trouble when they're too task-focused. They forget to actually take the people with them. And so you need a balance. And the bigger your organization, sounds weird, you probably need to go more to the people-focused than the task-focused, because your job is more about managing the people so they can do the tasks.
And I think that's the thing, is most tradesmen and techs are going to be task-focused by nature.
100%.
So I think the thing to remember is, as you become, higher and higher up a leadership chain, you end up with more and more tradesmen and techs underneath you, and they have enough task focus for the organization to thrive. And someone needs to focus on the people, or otherwise all those task focused people become unhappy. And at that point, you've got chaos, you've got rework, you've got callbacks, you've got backstabbing and infighting and silos and all the fun stuff that comes with that bad culture, or the inverse of what we've been talking.
People start leaving the organisation. They start exiting, which is not awesome. And I think there's a phrase that we use. It's a bit kind of, I don't want to use a swear word, but it's a little bit like, I don't know, highfalutin. Critical non-essentials. Critical non-essentials. What does that mean? Well, it's, as a leader, if you can do things like acknowledge people's birthdays, acknowledge, you know all their kids, you know about their family, deaths, births, and marriages. It really makes a huge difference, because people know that you care.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that you task focus is important. Getting this job done is important, but carrying the people with you is more and more important the bigger your business grows.
Your job is to grow the team. The team's job is to grow the business.
That's right. If you really want to get, lots of profit, great time, and freedom from your business, you need a strong team. And to be a great leader is obviously a crucial part of that. Yeah.
Well, a team without a leader is not really a team. They're just a group of people trying to all do their own thing, which is...
Well, if you think about the, Band of Brothers and Foy, if Winters had gone down there, they might have started shooting at each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could have been chaos. Like, people would be running around everywhere. No one's really directing. It's that whole thing. No one's steering the ship, right? So,
and I mean, how often has that happened in your business, where you're just under the pump and you're working hard, but you're kind of going around in circles?
Yeah.
That's about leadership.
Yeah. So, what other qualities would we be looking for in a great leader? What do we advocate to our members?
Well, I think the first thing is it's a mindset shift. It's like my job isn't just to do the work. My job is to make sure the work gets done, and that's about building the team. So it's recognizing that that's a really critical role, and that it's hard work, and that at times you're going to feel resentful about it. Like, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like people let you down, or not really picking up what you're putting down. That's part of it. Not everyone is like you when you're an employee. Some people are maybe not quite as motivated, whatever. Maybe some people need a bit more back scratching and head patting than you do as well.
Well, I think that's important to remember, because it's so easy to think, when I was an apprentice, I was like this. When I was a tradesman, I was like that. When I was an ops manager, I used to blah, blah, blah. But there's a big thing you're forgetting here, is you own your business now. Some of these guys in these roles, they'll never own a business. They'll never be where you are now, or definitely not any further than that. And that's okay. Like, if they were as good as you are, they probably would be who you are. And that's something I think that's important to remember. It's not about accepting any mediocrity, but it's just important to understand that not everybody's the same, and not everyone's going to be as driven and committed and motivated as you are. Those qualities are why you're a business owner now.
100%. So I think it's really important that they trust you and that you're honest. And the best way to be trustworthy and honest, or to show them that you're trustworthy, is just to be trustworthy and honest.
Yeah.
You got to care. And they have to know that you care. I think you have to make decisions. You have to be a person who can make decisions. And there's a lot to that. And maybe we can do another session on that at some time, how to get the right decisions made. But you have to be a person who can make decisions, that they can see that you can actually, make decisions and take control of things as well. Because if you're weak with that, they're going to struggle. So I think that's important. This is a big one. You got to let your people do their job. And I know because most of us are really good at doing stuff, our first impulse is to actually try and fix something. Like Phil said, we'll go and fix the problem that the client has. Yeah. That's going to kill your culture, because you're going to breed helplessness. In fact, I think you told me a story about this, which is kind of made you want to jump into jump into the poo story. The poo story.
Yeah. So, look, I'm sure a lot of you out there have kids. And if you've ever had kids and you've gone through the potty training stage, potty training is one thing, but the thing they don't tell you about is teaching your kid to wipe their butt, which is something altogether different. Now, my son's just gone through that recently, and he did the old classic, which is he'd wipe, and he'd always get to a point where he wanted me to check. And when he wants me to check, basically what he's saying is, I've had enough of wiping now. And I want you to finish it off. That's really what he's saying. And to start with, what would happen is I'd go in and I'd finish it off. And what I realized was he never got any better after that, because people don't get any better than the level of where you jump in. What I learned was I actually just had to stop doing it. So he'd say, can you check? And I'm like, no, if you think you're done, pull your pants up. And he was like, oh, what if there's poo in my undies? And you say, well, then there'll be poo in your undies. And he says, oh, I don't want that. And I'm like, well, if you don't think you're done, you can keep wiping. And funnily enough, he improved, got better, and now he can do it. So I think it's the same with you guys, like if you're getting guys calling you up and asking you, hey, I've done this and I've done this, I've just got this last question. Just ask them, what do you think? Oh, well, I don't want to get it wrong. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what do you think? What would you do if I never picked up? And put it back on them. You have to let them get their own stuff right. You have to let them try stuff out and actually make their own decisions. If you always jump in when they ask for help, they'll just keep asking for help, and they'll never improve past that point. So
you have
really important.
Yeah, you have to let them perhaps get a little bit of poo on their undies.
Yeah, and I think
and you have to be prepared to put up with that too. Yes,
that's it. You need to be prepared for the proverbial poo in the undies.
Yeah.
If they make a mistake and they come back and say, hey, man, I took initiative, I did what I thought was right and I got it wrong, you have to be prepared for that to happen sometimes and deal with it the right way. Because if you come down on them like a ton of bricks, they'll just go back to asking you. But if you say, hey, mate, we all make mistakes sometimes. Look, bugger, I would have done it like this. So next time, do it like that. But look, this is how I'd clean it up from here.
Yeah.
Then they'll learn.
Yeah, we don't want them to make the same mistake 2 or 3 times, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Whole nother kettle of fish.
But they need to be able to make a mistake, because I bet you've made a mistake as well. If you're listening, you will have made a mistake. You're not perfect.
You still make them.
Still make them. And there's a great little rule here. It's the 3-1, the 1-3-1 rule, Phil. So they train your team to come to you with 1 problem, 3 suggestions, and 1 solution. So it's like one recommendation. Yep. So they tell you the problem. Hey, there's 3 things I could do here, and here's what I recommend that we do. And that's a great way of not micromanaging as well. And the leader, don't micromanage. That's a killer. Build your culture and be results driven. You've got to know the numbers in your business. You've got to understand what the results look like. If you don't know the numbers, financial numbers and some KPIs, it's really hard to lead properly as well. It's hard work, 100%, but it's worth it, because if you want to have great time, a lot of time and flexibility and freedom from your business and money, cash flow and profit, you got to be good at leadership. And you can do it. You 100% can do it. You've learned how to wire a house or plumb a house or lay drains, whatever it is. You can do this stuff as well. It's just a different skill set.
Yeah. Well, should we land this plane, Tony?
Let's do it. So, look, if you want a great business, it does give you time, money, profit, and freedom. Then, building a strong team is critical, and a critical role for you as the leader is to actually jump in and do that. And they have to know that you care, and you have to put some tactics in place to actually show that you're doing the leadership. That's your appraisals, your team rules, your core values, all that sort of stuff is going to help bed that leadership into the business. The key thing here is it's a mindset shift. Your role is no longer just to get the work done, it's actually to build the team so they can get the work done. That's the key shift, and it is hard work, but it's so worth it. So I really appreciate your time today listening. We've had a great time, Phil. It's been good fun. We'll catch you next time, and remember that your business will never outperform you as a leader.
Hey, I hope you liked the video. Check out all the other videos in the channel and like and subscribe.